Good evening, everyone. I hope you're well. We are here this evening to talk about something that sounds very complicated, and it's been really tricky to summarize in a title, but I'm sure if you stick with us, you're going to learn something quite amazing. Evening, Kelly.
Hello,
How
how
are
are you
you?
doing?
I'm all right. I'm okay. We're always exhausted, aren't we, at Sunshine?
Exhausted in such a good way, though. Do you know
Absolutely.
what I mean? Today has been a day, a few really good things have happened today for families I work with. So you get to the end of the day and you look back and you think, where has the day gone? Which is also, funnily enough, given the topic of what we're talking about, how my days as a teacher used to go. You get to the end of the day and you think, how, where, what, but then if you sort of on your drive home, you decompress and you think about all those little moments during the day and you think, wow, it's a good exhaustion. We've achieved some stuff today.
Yeah.
It was that sort of day today.
Good, good. I like those sorts of days. So tonight you just mentioned there that you're a teacher, and I think that is fantastic because I mean, I know I've benefited because you've taught one of my children in the past. But guys, tonight, whether you're a teacher or a parent or a professional, or just somebody being a bit nosy into the SEND world, you're going to find this Facebook Live really, really informative because we're very aware that I have come into this process. By the way, I'm Chrissa. I'm the founder of Sunshine Support. I came into this process as a very disgruntled parent, set up Sunshine Support off the back of that, knowing full well I couldn't do this by myself, which is why we've got such an amazing team of different levels of expertise. But one of the amazing things is that you do help me to create a balance because otherwise I go off on a real ranty parent tangent. And it's nice to have that balance of a teacher going, hang on a minute, Chrissa, let's just slow up there. And give another side to things. But also, it's really informative for us as parents, but also as teachers to know that actually teachers are doing an amazing job. They don't always get it right, as we parents don't always get it right. And I think tonight we're going to be talking about these opportunities for everybody as adults to hold a mirror up to themselves and really think about how we impact children's education. So tonight, in a sentence, we're going to be focusing on intergenerational experiences with education and how to break those negative cycles. Because, like I said, it's a really hard one to summarize, and we're going to be touching upon school avoidance, school trauma, and how to support SEND parents. Tons of stuff. There's going to be bits and bobs of everything, but as we talk this evening, I think it'll resonate with more and more people. So I'm just going to see who's on at the moment.
Oh,
Kerry, who's Kerry? We've even got a Kerry in the team. It's not. Do you know one of my closest friends is called Coral? She might be watching, and I constantly call her Charlotte. It's become a running joke now. I just call her Charlotte.
Charlotte and Coral aren't even similar.
She doesn't even look like anybody that I know called Charlotte, like our Charlotte. She doesn't look anything like her.
Amazing.
Hi, Danny Swift. Good evening. Hi, Amy. Hi, Claire. Um, and she's also a SEND parent and teacher, Claire.
Ah, wonderful stuff.
Hi, Sarah. Hi, Sophie. Hi, Charlotte. Hi, Gillian. Hi, Emma Tubes, our very own Tubes.
Tubes. Hello.
Good evening, Carly. Hello, Mel. There's hundreds of people here. Oh, and there's
Oh,
Jessica Gould, who you now called Jeweled.
Jules. We have
Jeweled.
a lot of Jesses in the office.
We
So
do.
we're doing a sort of portmanteau name squish. I feel that that sort of helps, without, of course, detracting from anybody's identity. If you're any of my families watching, say a special hello because I can't see the Facebook comments at the moment because I can only cope with one thing at once. So all my
Yeah.
attention is on the screen. I never see what anyone says. So if you're one of my lovely lovely families who I work with, tell Chris a big hello because I'd
Yes.
love to know he's out there.
And make sure you let us know where you're calling from. You're not calling from anywhere, where you're watching from, because sometimes there are some themes, and we know some local authorities
Mm.
are really struggling at the moment. And of course, there's the news today that Nottingham are facing bankruptcy. Um,
Mm.
and it's about time that the government really does step in and do something about this, because it's quite clear that none of these local authorities are getting enough money to manage their budget. So So yes, I'm not going to keep looking at the comments because otherwise we won't get on with it. But just for everybody to know, there is a bit of background behind why we decided to do this Facebook Live tonight, because Kelly and I had a chat recently about an interview that I heard on the radio, bear with me, with Carol Vorderman. Now, I quite like Carol Vorderman, and she was saying that her maths school, she's got an online maths school called the Maths Factor. She was saying that they'd recently undertaken some research, and the research showed that more than 50% of parents hated maths in school, but so desperately didn't want to pass that on, that hatred of maths, on to their children. And it got me thinking, and we had a discussion, because basically the scenario that Carol was talking about was explicitly about the topic of maths. However, for us in our roles, we see this as a much wider problem, don't we?
Absolutely. And coming from my background, so pre-Sunshine, I've been a teacher in mainstream education since 2005, but in special education since 2011. Most recently was a head of a special school, independent specialist day and residential provision. But the common theme through all those environments, so we're talking about a huge variety of different families, of different types of young people, different types of need. The commonality that we see is how sad it is that so many parents report having had such negative experiences of school. And that might be something as niche as just in a particular subject like maths, all the way up to just school in general being a terrible experience. And if you think about it, if you then become a parent, one of the things you desperately want for your child, of course, is to be happy. And how hard must it be sometimes for parents to contemplate choosing a school for their child, sending their child to school all the time, knowing for them how that felt as a child. You have to go out on such a limb and take such a risk that you're sending your child and they'll be looked after and cared for and loved and taught. That's a big thing for any human being to do, I think.
And I also think that some parents, and I'm holding my hands up here because this is me, I didn't recognize the signs in myself that I struggled with attending school. Now, I went to primary school in South Wales, absolutely had a brilliant time, loved every moment and connected with my teachers and still know all their names to this day, loved them dearly. Went to senior school in South Wales up to year 9. Again, had a blast, had the best friends. I absolutely adore them. We still keep in touch. One of them I named my daughter after because I just thought she was bonkers and amazing. And my daughter's exactly the same. And I love that. But that experience was so wonderful. I couldn't imagine anything negative happening. And then I moved to Derbyshire, where I had this very broad Welsh accent at age 14, 15, and got bullied from day one about dressing slightly differently. They couldn't understand my accent. I was an active member of the netball team, both at county level and at sort of senior school level back at home in Wales. I wasn't welcome on any of the teams here. It was very much my identity. I was a singer, a very active singer. I was always in shows. That wasn't welcome here. And all of a sudden, my identity was stripped away. Now, I struggled with school. And of course, the emotional intelligence wasn't there then. The emotional coaching that we've got now for parents to teach their kids about emotions, that wasn't there then. And if I'm brutally honest, looking back, my experience in Derbyshire was absolutely awful. And I started to really struggle to attend. And then I had a diagnosis of Crohn's disease. So that also impacted my education. I did a lot of my education from hospital. So the whole thing for me was quite traumatizing. And it wasn't until I was in my probably late 30s that I really thought about this. Now, my eldest child, all my children will be going to the same senior school as I went to in Derbyshire. Times have changed. And they also have me as a mum, and I like to coach them and help them to be more resilient and everything else. However, What I didn't appreciate, and I will absolutely hold my hands up to, is that I think that I impacted my eldest struggle with attending school, mainstream school. Now, don't get me wrong, my eldest child has got lots of different complex invisible disabilities. So, PDA, autism, ADHD, trauma from school, all the usual mix that we tend to see actually in PDAs. And perhaps it wouldn't have worked out anyway. However, I don't think my approach and how heightened I was through the whole thing, clearly being triggered by my own experiences, back to my own experiences, I don't think any of that helped. And I remember being quite unreasonable as a parent. I remember being very hot-headed. I didn't shout at anyone. I didn't hurt anyone, promise. I mean, you were there.
No, that's why I'm laughing. I'm thinking, wow. I mean, looking back, I don't think you were. I think that what we have to understand as professionals is that parents are just grown up children. Does that make sense?
Yep.
And sometimes our expectations as children grow into young adults and then adults, our expectations shift a little. And we expect something that neurodivergent children struggle with. We expect them to miraculously be cured and okay with that when they become an adult. And I think professionals need to sort of be there for that, and particularly in the setting of a specialist school. So as you were describing there, I was a hot-headed parent, I was this. You came to that situation after quite a significant amount of fighting and trauma and everything, and you brought that with you as well as everything else from when you were a teenager. And I think us as educators need to be cutting some slack, and instead of just sort of being a bit gung-ho about, right, I'll do this, I'll fix this, or worse, dismissing those feelings and saying, oh, wag a finger, parent, if you're not more polite, then you won't be welcome on site, all of those things that unfortunately I've encountered parents having experienced. We need to completely shift the thinking, and we need to validate how you feel and give you time to work through that and support you in that, and say, hey, it's okay that you had a rubbish time. I want to try to show you that things can be different, and the only way we do that is through our actions, isn't it? Let's face it. By promising we're going to do things as educators and learning facilitators, and then actually doing it within the time frame we say we're going to do it, and then that's the only way that sort of thing will get better.
Absolutely. And I can honestly say firsthand that is definitely the reception I received from you, because I don't recall ever having heightened feelings towards the school, that sort of anger and they're not doing the right thing. There may have been questions, but I was able to say, oh, I've got a bit of a question. This is my question, or I don't particularly like the way this was done. And I used to come to you and it would all be fixed. And it was just great. Even if you couldn't fix it, we would negotiate a way through together. And I think that for the first time ever, I felt equal. I didn't feel like you were looking down on me where I'd received that sort of treatment before. But was that treatment that I'd received before genuinely coming my way, or was I reverting back to being a teenager in that school, and therefore I felt less than with my teachers? One of the most vital things that I did was at the start of lockdown, so we're coming up to now 4 years of this, I started intensive trauma therapy, which I have not stopped. I've done it weekly, as you know, for the last 4 years. And one of the things I worked on, and of course, like every week is slightly different, because you roll with the times and where you're at in your mind. But I had my second child going up to this senior school, and I was thinking, and me and my husband both had a conversation, and he said, you've got to do something about this, because otherwise this might affect her experience of education in that school. And right now she doesn't have any problems at all with going to school. She has, she's very likely to have ADHD, and we'll find out shortly, but with school attendance and engagement in school, she has 100% attendance and she really loves going, and her mental health is beautiful. We work hard on that. She also has weekly therapy. But what I needed to do, because we need to do this a lot as caregivers, whether we're teachers or parents, we need to look at us first. We have to hold that mirror up, and it's so bloody hard because you feel guilt and you feel shame and you think, oh God, I've ruined everything, and I've ruined my child's life, and I've ruined my family, and I don't deserve to have kids. And you have all these things, but until you go through those periods of uncomfort, you can't make progress. And so I engaged in this amazing therapy, which I continue to do. And I said to my therapist, this is my situation. I don't want to sit in shame. I don't want to sit here feeling guilty for my first child's experience, but I know that I have to do something to fix the rest because I've got 4 kids. So I've got another 3 that are going to be coming up in school. And so I dealt with it, and I did an element of lots and lots of therapy, going back, back to my home life, back home and in Wales, and then following my journey through. It was very, very intensive. And after months and months and months, I then knew that I had to go up to the school to do that parents' evening where you go and have a look at the school, see if it's the one that you want your child to go to. And I worked so damn hard. And what was lovely was that they painted the walls. I know this sounds crazy, but I always remember that school being sort of cream and dark green. And now it was all of a sudden white and grey, which I think most schools are white and grey. And I thought, okay, it looks different. And then I'm like, it smells a bit different. That helps. And then I coached myself through it to make sure that my daughter did not feel any kind of negativity towards this school because of me. Anything she felt, if it was negative, was because that was on her own merit. She decided that. And she chose the school. She absolutely loved it. She's now there. She's been there since September, and she's having the time of her life. And I feel like I've overcome something so enormous. And maybe all of this is nonsense and she was going to get on well anyway. But I feel quite good that I've made this effort to overcome these experiences. But it is really, really hard as a parent to hold up. But I think sometimes we can be honest. And I know that, I developed a parent-teacher relationship with you, Kelly, where I could be honest. And I really liked that. And I think that's what connected us when you did leave. And I'm like, oh, yes, I would love to work together with you. How amazing. But it is really hard for parents to get to that point, particularly when, and I've got some resources here. We did some research a couple of months ago, and what I've got here is this resource here. So it's like a word cloud. And we did some research, and it was, how do professionals make send parents feel on the whole? Okay. Now, we published this on our social media channels, and I think it went out in an email marketing email shot. So it went to thousands of people, if not hundreds of thousands of people. And the biggest word on here means that it's been entered the most is ignored.
Oh.
So parents feel ignored by professionals. So you could have a parent that really wants to address these intergenerational curses, if you like, because that's how it feels to me. It feels like I've brought about a curse to my children that I've actively worked to get rid of. And imagine going to a teacher then and saying, I've got this issue, and then you're ignored. Another one is inadequate. And the third biggest word is uneducated. It's really sad.
It is really sad. And it's sad, especially for me as a teacher. And I love teachers because I am one. But it I guess to me it speaks a lot to the fact that I guess teaching is one of those professions where there are lots of different personalities, and therefore it can be quite hard for parents to walk into, say, something like a parents' evening where they see lots of different teachers who are all going to tell the parent about their child, which is an interesting concept anyway, because obviously, like, it's odd, isn't it? As a parent, you go and you get told things about your child. But every personality that they're going to encounter is different, and they're likely to, deal with your child differently. Can be in a positive way, can be in a less helpful way. And actually, we always think about children and parents' evenings, but parent and parents' evenings, if you're carrying that trauma and you go in, just something as simple as sitting on a child-sized chair can be incredibly triggering, and it makes the playing field significantly less level. And I think it's interesting to hear those words, because sometimes teachers, just by nature, we are fixer people. A child comes to us with a problem, we try and fix it, we help them understand what's happened, it moves on, then they can hopefully apply the same strategies next time that problem occurs. And I think by nature, we sometimes do that a bit too much with perhaps parents who are coming to us. So I always try to lead not with what I need, but what the other person might need. So I try to ask, do you want me to just listen to what the problem is? Do you just need an ear, or do you want me to fix something? Do I need to make a change? Do I need to speak to a member of staff? And I allow myself to be led by the parent, because that's really important. And I think as well, just simply just validating a parent's experience is key, because we can't lose sight of what the SEND code of practice says, and it's very clear in that the parents are the experts. So simply by saying, I hear you, that must be terrible, what should we collectively do about it, is a lot of the time much more powerful than we don't see that. Sorry, we don't see that behaviour at school. I don't know what you. I don't know what to do. Fine. Or right, okay, I will do this, this, and this before the parent has even finished their sentence as to what the matter is. And I think either of those approaches can be equally as damaging. And what we need to do is actually be led by the parent, listen to the parent. And how I always like to think about it, that whole fine in school thing, is that it's our duty to see a pupil as a whole person. And that is a whole person who exists 24 hours a day. And if they are getting home at the end of the school day and having a whopper of a meltdown because they have contained themselves in a tiny, spiky, horrible box all day, then we have to be the ones. We've got the key to that box for the day. If they then get home and then they're let out of that box, and everything is difficult, it's up to us to let them out of the box. And that's, they are at school for the majority of the day. We have to find ways to let air into that box, to let comfort into that box. And even if we don't see the effects of that, we've got to try those things to see if they make a difference. It's so important. And that's where I think the intergenerational thing comes in so strongly, because if parents do have problems with their children and how they're feeling about school, and they have experienced similar problems, then the likelihood is that it's taken them goodness knows how much effort and bravery to even come forward in the first place.
Absolutely.
And then they're expecting to not get anywhere. We have to cycle breaker.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you know, I was attending a meeting at a school recently that I've been helping with school attendance, and I noticed 2 children on the register were at 0% attendance. So I asked them to just talk to me about what was happening for those children. And we always have these cats.
We always have the cats. I can't do anything about it. They run my house. They do as they please. I don't have anything to say. Carry on, Chrissa.
So there was these 2 children on roll who were at 0% attendance, and I sort of said to the head, can you talk to me about what's happening for these children? Because what I was expecting was, they're neurodivergent, they're struggling with school attendance, we're trying to get their EHCP in place. That's what I was almost hoping to hear, because then there would be an action plan and these children would be being helped. So, however, the head, who had been a Senko and seemed quite progressive, and so her response was, it made me feel really physically sick. The head's response was, I taught their parents when they were here and they were just the same. It's just how that family are. They're nightmares and they're difficult to reach.
Well, imagine saying that about in any other context, like a disability context, a race context. You just wouldn't say it. You can't say that.
No.
Oh my gosh, what did you say?
Well, I was a little bit speechless, and because there were people in the room, I thought what I don't want to do is I've got a terrible tendency of trying to call things out and embarrass people, and I just desperately didn't want to do that. I want to remain professional. And so I said I would really like to help work with you on this, because what you'll probably find is there's an undiagnosed SEND, or there'll be a genuine reason for non-attendance that their parents, yes, struggled with, but now that's being passed on. And so we're not going to be able to break this curse or this trend without giving it respect because these children deserve respect. And essentially, and I did have a further conversation, and we did come up with an action plan, and there was a lot of law being discussed because there were a lot of exclusions when the children did come to school. And why would they want to come to school if they were being excluded? So it really is, it's really, really frustrating, because I'm not saying it's a simple fix, but if we write these children off because their parents were like that, then we are absolutely not encouraging a break in that cycle. We're not promote. What are the outcomes for those children? How can we honestly, hand on heart, sit there and say that we are doing all the things that we're taught to do as teachers? I say we, I'm not a teacher, but we're doing all the things we're taught to do as teachers, which is, aiming for those positive outcomes. That is absolutely not a positive outcome. That, just accepting the status quo and not giving thought to it. There was almost a level of fear as well, though, to give. Not that I'm trying to condone their behaviour as a school, but there was a level of fear, and I think the fear came from not knowing. So they didn't know the answer to why the mum and dad were school avoiders. And they also, therefore, didn't know what the answer was for the children. And they seemed scared to find out. But were they scared also because it would hold a mirror up to them?
Yeah, I mean that is hard because that, as you said earlier, that is vital. It's that self-reflection. And funnily enough, actually, obviously in my previous role, I managed an education team that was made up of teachers, teaching assistants, other professionals, and we had a big training day about maths, and a number of the educational staff were quite verbal and open in how much they hated maths. And our maths teacher got quite impassioned and said, you can't be using this type of language when you're in the classroom, because it just reinforces that maths is boring and maths is too hard and we can never do it, because these adults who now exist in life and who are really respected by the young people. We have some really favoured teachers and TAs saying, oh no, maths is not for me. I don't really understand why we're doing this training. Well, that's why we're doing this training. So it was a real mirror up to ourselves moment. And quite a few people said afterwards, gosh, I never really realised that just simply saying to the kids, oh yeah, I wasn't very good at maths at school, trying to encourage camaraderie and, oh, I feel like you feel, I see your stress, I hated it too. It was actually doing the opposite of what we needed to do. What we needed was like a sort of collaborative thing of, I understand you're finding this really hard. How about we work together as a team to try and solve it? And that's very different. But that's exactly the same thing that has to be applied when you have parents who come in and they need help and they're expressing that their child is having difficulties at home or is really struggling with a subject. It's got to be, gosh, I really hear you, that is a real struggle. How can we help together? How can we do it as a team? Because teachers don't have all the answers. And we've got a fabulous colleague on our team, Gabby, who's also an educational professional. And one of the things she said about this topic was, it's okay that teachers don't have all the answers. And there's a level of expectation, I think, of teachers sometimes, where sort of teachers are expected to know all the answers, and teachers put that expectation on themselves too, because that's just what happens. Because I know, because I am one, and I think it's okay to say, hey, I don't have all the answers. Hey, I don't think I can fix this. But why don't we try and learn together? Why don't we try and find a way forward? Because if nothing else, you've got a good team member in me. And that is often all the parent needs in that moment.
Absolutely. And I think one of the things that I love about, because we've got 3 teachers on the team here at Sunshine. We've got Kelly, Charlotte, and Gabby, all with very differing experiences, actually. So they all have different areas of expertise. And one of the things that we developed recently, and I've got another resource to show actually here, is understanding the send parent journey. You can download one of these on our website because there's a square version as well. But I used all of these resources in my recent course that I put onto our Sunshine Academy. So for those who want to do a lot of learning in this area, we've got an online training school basically that's available 24/7. And one of the courses, Kelly's got loads of courses on there. Courses that haven't been seen as well. They're not webinars, they're actual decent in-depth courses. And I did a course on how to support SEND parents. So it's quite in-depth and it's got lots of information on there. I think it's quite useful for parents and for teachers, actually. But anyway, I'll read some of these out because understanding the SEND parent journey will help us in what we do next, which is what sort of Kelly was just talking about. So understanding that parenting comes with this sense of overwhelming love, right? We know that. And there's just something a little bit extra when your child's got special educational needs. It's not that you love them more than your other children. And I've got 4 kids, 2 of which have EHCPs. And it's not that I love those children more. It's just that it seems a little more overwhelming because I think there's this protective thing that you've got.
I was going to say, it's like tiger mum, isn't it?
Yes.
Because if you think about life being a playing field, if you're a child with disabilities, whether they are visible or hidden, you are starting off sort of on the back foot, aren't you, really? And you have to do more than others. And then therefore that triggers that protective thing, doesn't it? It means that you want to be their safety net, but you also want to be their propeller.
Yeah.
I get it.
It's so hard. You feel that, I mean, one of the things on here is blame. You really blame yourself. And it's not necessarily, I mean, some people say, did I cause this? Is it me? Did something happen in my pregnancy? Did I do something wrong? Sometimes you just feel blame because you don't feel like you're doing a very good job because you're winging it. All of us parents wing it. Let's be fair. When people say I'm a parenting expert, there's no such thing. You're winging it. Every child is different. Every parent is different. Every family dynamic is different. You've got intergenerational experiences. Nobody is an expert. We're all winging it. But you tend to blame yourself a little bit more. And I think we're all born with guilt anyway, with mum guilt, when we have our first child. You feel helpless. You worry for now. You worry for next week, the future. You're always upset. One of the things we laugh now, it wasn't laughable at the time, but every time I came to Kelly's school for a meeting, Kelly would welcome me and then pass me a box of tissues.
Yeah.
Because I was sitting there just crying, even if, and I remember one annual review, Kelly, you were like, oh, we've met this target and we've met that target and we're doing this now and we're doing that now and this is happening and this is the projected thing for GCSEs, and I sat there even then crying my eyes out. So you're just always upset. You're concerned that you're not good enough as a parent. You're confused. You're overwhelmed. You are experiencing grief. Now, grief is not just reserved for death. Grief is when we have to let go of something we thought we had. And I think a lot of us SEND parents, we have a very romantic vision. You know, you create your baby and it's all like, oh, a little mini me, a mini you, and this is wonderful, and don't they look like you, and they look like me, and oh, they're going to be like this when they're older. And sometimes that just doesn't pan out, and that's okay. It's that Welcome to Holland thing, isn't it? You know, for those who have not heard of Welcome to Holland, give it a Google. Extreme guilt, shock, out of depth, overly protective, denial, we know that's there, paranoia. That is huge. And if you're neurodivergent, then there's rejection sensitive dysphoria added on to that. And the fact you need to know more, which is why you're all watching now. Now, if you can take a snapshot, I appreciate that's massive. Okay. So there's the thing. As a teacher, taking a snapshot of that every time you meet that parent and just going, okay, what I'm going to experience with this parent now, like Kelly did with me. Oh, Chrissa's a crier. So when Chrissa comes, we're going to give her tissues. That'll make her feel nice. I also know she likes coffee. And it was always filter coffee, always the best coffee. So I had to rock up to lovely coffee, tissues, and biscuits. And how much more comfortable did I feel that I wasn't in a council office that was dirty and the tables had just been shoved together? I felt like I just felt respected. I felt like you were looking forward. I'm sure you weren't looking forward to seeing me, but it felt like you were looking forward to seeing me and you were prepared for me. And all that level of respect really made a difference. So I think in terms of sort of capturing that, again, if we could go on and on and on for hours about this, but if anybody wants more information on that, do sign up to our Sunshine Academy, because I go through that, and I also go through the other one that I was talking about. So I guess now it's a case of, how do we put it right? So, we've already said it's about that validation. And another resource I've got is using trauma responsive language. And it's things like replacing, maybe you've taken on a bit too much and you look like you're struggling. I've been told that one before. Really be working full time because it looks like you're struggling. You're struggling to be a parent. Whoa, hang on a minute, teacher. Expecting career advice from you. So instead of that, you could replace it with, you're allowed to feel overwhelmed. I understand. I'm here to help. And just hearing that, I just feel calmer just like reading it. I think. Or another one that we've just spoken about, she's fine when you're here. Oh, she's fine when she's here. Do you think you're overreacting? I think a lot of us have heard that. So instead of saying that, you could say, this is not your fault, nor is it your daughter's fault. Let's work together to make sense of what's going on so I can help. So it's that, again, nobody's to blame. Nobody's to blame. Another one is, it looks like you're not coping. A lot of our parents get told that, don't they? Oh my God.
It's terrible because it has a lasting impact, not only on the parent themselves, and you go home and, as you're saying, guilt, blame, it just perpetuates that cycle. But the concept of not coping, a throwaway comment like that by a professional to another professional can have quite significant far-reaching consequences within the world of, triggering safeguarding, FII. If you don't know what FII is, that's another reason to sign up to Sunshine Academy, because we've got some information and some courses on there. And that's very intrinsically linked to the concept of parent blaming. And you never know, just, you're not coping. That is an incredibly powerful thing. And us as teachers, we have to be so acutely aware, because our days are packed. They are non-stop from even before you get into school and well after the children have gone home. You don't stop. Sometimes you don't even go to the toilet or fill up your water bottle. It's crazy. So you have all these little micro encounters all through the day, and you might only see a parent for 30 seconds, not even that, at the end of the day, where you hand over a child who's had a bit of a distress day, and you say, it's been a bit of a tricky day, and the parent looks a bit frazzled, and then, you make a throwaway comment, and then you go on to the next thing. But that one thing stays there for that parent. That's their only encounter that they might have had with another adult all day. So we have to be so, so mindful of that. And again, as teachers, for ourselves, we need to take a minute. If our day is just ping-ponging from thing to thing, we need to value each of those parent interactions and make that parent feel as though that is the best conversation that we've had with anybody all day. And I think that harks back to what you were saying, Chrissa, about when you'd arrive and it was a nice room with coffee in it and biscuits and things. We took the time to do that because, for you, an annual review is yearly. It's a yearly event, which is, potentially incredibly celebratory, but also quite a difficult meeting. You only get that once a year. I did every review for every child in my school. So there were like 60 odd children. So that works out to more than one annual review a week, nearly 2 annual reviews a week. And if I'm not treating each one of those like it is the best occasion of my entire year, then I'm doing something really, really wrong, because that parent will go away and that whole experience will be lasting. And then to think about the intergenerational thing, if that's a parent who already has a negative view of school, who feels belittled by teachers or confused by information because, they might have SEND or an undiagnosed SEND and, processing, and we just throw information at them, and then they go home after that one opportunity through the whole year and they go, that was exactly like being back at school.
Yes.
We can't let it happen. Like I said, we have to be cycle breakers. We have to do something different to what people expect us to do.
Yes. And what is the best way then? So I'm a parent and I've recognized that either my child has difficulties or maybe I'm further down the line in my own self-discovery, and I've realized, I had a bad experience at school. My child's having a bad experience at school. I understand how my child feels. I might be impacting that. I don't know. But either way, I completely get this situation we're in and I need some help. What's the best way to come to a teacher and ask? Is it through email? Is it coming to you at the end of the day? What's the best way?
I think there's a few factors involved there. I think you yourself will probably know your school's way of working quite well, and it's always quite useful to follow that. If you, for example, your child has a class teacher who is really responding over email, really responsive, you email a lot, then it might just be a, hey, can I have a quick chat, quick email. But it might be in person. I think, you know, there's a sort of a balance to be struck between what you need as a communicator as well, because again, it goes back to these tiny little chairs and stuff. You need to be able to communicate in a way that suits you. Some parents I work with really love emails because they can just keep everything. Others really much prefer phone calls. Others much prefer face to face. And I think ultimately you have to take a leap. There has to be a risk, a degree of honesty. You have to sort of put yourself out there a little bit to come and say, hey, these are the concerns I have. You know, this is an issue that I'm emerging seeing. I want to try and nip this in the bud, or I want to try and investigate more. What do I do? Class teacher is usually the best way to go, or a form tutor at secondary school, who can then direct you to the special educational needs coordinator, the SENCO, if necessary, via whatever means you feel most comfortable in doing. And if you are the teacher on the receiving end of that, just remember that thing about that's one of many interactions you have, but that likely that parent is the only interaction, and they've probably been building up to it for over a week, thinking about it. So you have to give them time. However, if you don't have time, that's fine too. You just need to lay out an expectation of communication. So it's, hey, I hear you. Gosh, that must be really awful. I think this might need a bit more time than what I've currently got right now. So let's put in the diary something where we can actually thrash this out properly. Until then, if there's anything really pressing and immediate, just let me know via email that I need to know about Johnny or whatever. But then let's have this meeting, let's sit down, let's have a cup of tea, and let's just problem solve and try and work out what's going on. Because if I could say one thing that's a takeaway from this Facebook Live to anybody who is a teacher and is listening, the one thing that is the most important thing to do is to validate in that moment, because that moment is going to be the scariest moment for that parent. And just to be able to say, hey, I hear that must be really hard. Okay, let's talk about what that looks like, rather than, cool, that's weird. What do you mean she kicks and punches you? She's beautifully behaved here. She puts her hand up. She's got loads of friends. Gosh, I'd never imagined that she'd kick and punch anyone. Because then straight away you think, oh my God, what am I doing wrong? It must be me. And it's not you. It's not you. So just be that validation sort of cycle break just in that moment. It's so important.
It's painful, isn't it? It's sort of recognizing that somebody has plucked up the courage to
Yeah.
come and respect them for that, respect their honesty. And yeah, I think one of the other things as well that I know seems to stick with me, and this is because it was highlighted to me in one of our favorite TV programs, Ted Lasso. But when he talks about the Walt Whitman quote, be
Yeah.
curious, not judgmental. And it's one of the things that I remind myself of daily, because I think as a society, we are conditioned to be judgmental, to protect ourselves, by the way. It's not that we're all conditioned to be nasty pieces of work. It's more a case of you are risk assessing everything around you, and therefore you form a judgment on things to keep yourself safe. But sometimes it is often worth a bit of a reality check to kind of go, well, am I being curious here or am I being judgmental? And I think, and it works both ways. It's parents and teachers can take this on board, because actually a parent might go to school and speak to a teacher who's had a really bad day and is struggling in that moment themselves, because we hear all the time about teachers' mental health and the relentless level of work that they've got on the terms and the conditions in which they work. And sort of just be kind of going, okay, I didn't get the response I needed. That's not mine. That's not my fault. That's something that's happening for them. So I'm going to remain, I'm not going to be judgmental on this situation, and I'm going to be curious and therefore ask more questions. And I think that curious thing, and the same thing with teachers, just because you're not forming a judgment doesn't mean you're not keeping the child safe, because a lot of teachers bounce back and a lot of social workers will say the be curious, not judgmental doesn't work for us because we have to safeguard children. No, no, you can still be curious and safeguard a child. If
Mm,
something doesn't sound right, and we do see that, where perhaps a child is kicking off at home, and maybe a teacher's only ever heard of this happening where the child has been abused at home, and we've seen that, we've
mm,
heard and seen that. But it's up to them to not judge straight away and go, this child is being abused at home, more to say, hang on a minute, let's be curious. Let's ask some questions here. At what point does the child kick off? Is there any particular days the child kicks off? Are there any particular lessons that trigger it? Has
mm,
the child stated what it is in the day that's winding them up? Why is it only happening at home? Because quite often it's only happening at home because that's the safe place. That's where they feel they can kick off. And we've all felt it. We've all been somewhere as an adult where we've held in the tears. Something has happened to us. Maybe it's at work. I remember working in recruitment, which is an incredibly ruthless industry. And I remember sitting at work thinking, just hold the tears in until you get home. And then I got
gosh.
home and cried. But that's exactly the same as what our kids are doing. So,
Mm,
we've got to, again, don't be judgmental, be curious. But I think that holding a mirror up on both parts, the parents and the teachers, is the trickiest part, because so many say, no, 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 it's nothing to do with me, this is to do with them. And there's that blame culture, which we talk about a lot in our school avoidance webinar, which again is available on the Sunshine Academy if anybody wants to watch it. um but I must say, by holding a mirror up, you learn so much about yourself. I mean, I was diagnosed nearly 2 years ago now with ADHD. And it's come as a surprise to no one, but nobody knew, if that makes sense. Nobody outwardly said, I think Chris has got ADHD. But when I explained, I've got ADHD, they gone, oh. And I had the
that
same
explains
moment,
a few things. I think
RSD and everything else. Yeah.
exactly, and again, going back to curious, not judgmental. I think we live in a world now where the world is becoming perhaps more aware of different presentations of diagnoses that historically had a very stereotypical sort of, people had a stereotypical view of what those diagnoses were. So go back some years and people, you talk about autistic spectrum disorder, for example, or as it was known then and isn't a term used anymore, Asperger's. People have a picture in their mind, and you say, is that person male or female? 99% of the time, they'll say male. And actually, what we know now about ASD is that the prevalence is much more equal. And the presentation is quite different. Same with ADHD. The presentation of ADHD in women is very, very different. And I think we have to be curious, not judgmental, because otherwise we are in danger of tarring parents who, teachers might think behave in certain ways as being just annoying or, difficult to deal with. Where in fact it might be a level of neurodivergence that we just don't know about. And again, it might be that whole history, that intergenerational thing of had a really terrible time in school. We have to be non-judgmental because it's the only way we're going to, as I say, break this cycle. It's a bit like when I work with PDA children. Um, PDA is a particular profile of ASD where there's demand avoidance, and that demand avoidance comes from a place of acute, extreme levels of anxiety. So we control everything that happens because then at least things happen on our terms and then we can keep them within our sphere. And the only way as a teacher you can successfully work with children who have a profile of PDA is to break cycles and do things that are unexpected, because all the time they're seeking to reinforce what they believe the world around them to be, enforcing upon them. If they can reinforce that, so you get children who will say things that are really, really shocking because they're waiting for you as a teacher to wag a finger and say that's very inappropriate, because then at least you think, oh, they don't like me. Well, I've controlled that because I said that thing. They're not actually judging me themselves. So if we can break that cycle, be really curious, do something really different, something unexpected, then all of a sudden, that expectation that things are going to be awful, you chip away at it. Every single interaction you have where you can be a different sort of person, you just chip, 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 chip. And then out of that, new experiences grow. And those experiences are really positive. And to just harp on about a metaphor, because I'm an English teacher, those roots that grow will be put down and will filter down to their children and their children and their children. And then how great is that? Like, I feel I can teach anyone Shakespeare, but what I've just said is the thing that really matters.
Absolutely. And I think teachers need to also remember that if you are dealing with an autistic child, whether the parent knows it or not, they're probably dealing with an autistic parent as well, or neurodivergent. It does pass down and it is very common. And a lot of us parents see these signs in ourselves or in our children, and we go, oh no, that's just a family thing. No, 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 it's not a family thing. It is a family thing, yeah, because you've all got ADHD or whatever it may be. And it's one of the reasons that with my second daughter, I recognized those signs, and I've coached her since she was born to recognize the different things that perhaps make her different, same with all my kids. But it's interesting to see when she tried to compare her ADHD with another girl of the same age, how their experiences of their ADHD was very, very different because I understood it. And so I was using the right language. So I never use the word naughty. It's not something I have to try to do. I just never use it. It's not in my vocabulary. But we'll say, oh my goodness, you're really struggling with this, this, this. How does it feel for you? And she uses all the key words. And I think teaching children, by the way, I know we're going off topic now, but teaching children as parents and teachers to use the correct terminology. Anxiety is what drives some of these inappropriate behaviors that are not wanted by teachers and parents. Or
unexpected behaviors, I like to call them.
Unexpected behaviors, dysregulation, all these sorts of things, but they're not naughty. Anyway, I'm going to have a little look at the comments to see if we have any questions. I just need to refresh this, Kelly. Sorry.
It's okay. Take your time. Like I said, I can't see them, so this is all on you.
Oh, goodness me. I don't know whether I can get through them all. There's nearly 350 comments.
Oh, good grief.
So Helena says, I completely agree that working with staff at school and building relationships with the teacher's head and deputy, constant communication when you've got a child with ASN. What's ASN? Not heard of ASN. Is the key to everything.
No.
It could be a different area because I know, in Wales they call it ALN, don't they?
Yeah, yeah.
Maybe it's that. And co-production, we talk about that in all of our webinars. And when for those who are signed up to the academy, you'll see that it's a genuine theme throughout. When parents and teachers work together, beautiful things can happen. Somebody has said, SJ Price says, if only all teachers had that capacity to empathize and respect the child and parent. So I think that is to you, Kelly. Applause. Louise says, thank you, ladies, for giving me the mental boost I needed tonight. It's been a long slog these last few weeks and months. This session has given me what I needed to push myself. Waiting on an EHCP decision, battling with school neurodivergence is exhausting and frustrating. Oh, yes. Because I think another thing, when you've got neurodivergent parents, we become extra passionate about the topic. Okay, so it might be something really small. Okay, so it could be something like taking something out of an EHCP that seems minor to the school, but is huge to the parent because they might understand how that would make them feel at that age. And so they really, really campaign really hard and might find loads of evidence as to why this thing that you thought as a teacher was tiny, that's been taken out of an EHCP, is actually massive. And you really need to listen to that because that parent is likely to have experienced something very similar and thinks to themselves, this wasn't around in my day. I would have loved this when I was in school. Different colour cat.
Yeah.
It's usually the other one.
I think as well, what that lady, I think did you say her name was Louise?
Yes.
Yeah. So I think as well, she's waiting on an EHC decision, different, difficulties in school. These are all the things that we don't see as teachers as well. So all of this background noise that's happening for people, it's so important that we bear that in mind always too when we're talking to people. And the lady before who said, I wish all teachers had the capacity to do things. Agree. And I think one thing I really want to emphasize is this doesn't have to be a time drain thing either. You don't have to suddenly become the Mary Poppins of the teacher world and be perfect, because no teacher, no human is perfect. And actually, when you're so stretched, you don't have the time to sit down and have that conversation ad hoc. As I said earlier, the main thing to do is to try to help that parent feel that you want to give them that adequate time. And it might not be immediately then, but find a time and lay out expectations. So when you're dealing particularly with neurodivergent parents, it's really helpful to establish how they like communication style, establish communication expectations. So you can say, hey, I can't meet today. However, I can meet on one of these days. And when we do meet, I will have 45 minutes. So why don't we put together an agenda first so that we know exactly what we want to cover in that 45 minutes? And then everyone knows what's what. No one's going to leave away going, why did I only get 45 minutes? I wanted 3 hours. And why didn't we talk about this? Because we planned it all in the first place. And you can structure that in to your week and your day and your time a bit more easily than just being Mary Poppins.
Yeah, I think it's brilliant. And doing that mental check as well. I talk about this in my webinar on the Academy. Doing that mental check when a parent asks you for support, doing that mental check with yourself, like you just said, have I got the capacity right now? Or we talk about the spoon theory. Again, give it a Google, but
Yeah.
do I have enough spoons to deal with this right now? If not, I need to put a hold on it, but let the person know out of respect that I'm putting on a hold on it. Or delegate it to someone else. Sometimes that's what's needed as well. You know, we've got to be honest. It's rather than it having a parent having a bad service, being able to be honest and, like you said, and set those expectations is absolutely spot on. Jane says we have so much evidence now in seeing childhood. Now in seeing childhood, my son taught me child psychology at its deepest. It was like he gave me a pair of glasses to look through his eyes. It's a game changer, and a flood of new strategies and ideas hit me straight away. Absolutely, and I think what wasn't around. I've been a parent now for 21 years. I feel really old. What wasn't around then? It was just Joe Frost, you know, banging on about the naughty step.
Oh, unacceptable behaviour.
Unacceptable.
Unacceptable.
But that word drove me mad as well.
Yeah, really did.
Now we do have such an array of information that we can take what we want from it and mold it to our families or mold it to our classrooms. Somebody's asking, can you catch up on this? Yes, you can. It'll be on our page.
I know what I was going to say actually as well about someone saying they were having to battle school. Again, this is something that I do a lot. So I work with families directly as part of my role in Sunshine and support them. And sometimes it can really help having somebody in your corner and on your side who is from the world of education, because there's a lot of jargon that flies around and a lot of, well, we can't do that, we can't do thing X because of thing Y, and the government says thing Z and blah blah blah. But a lot of parents find it quite helpful to have someone with an education head on being able to gently push back, but in a way that understands teachers, because nothing a teacher hates more than somebody who doesn't know their school coming in and telling them how to do their job. And that is so not how I work. I'm about trying to be an extra brain for teachers and take some of the workload off by taking on some of the other bits. So if that's you, if you're watching this and you think, gosh, I don't know that I have sort of I'm exhausted. I don't know if I've got it in me to go and have these conversations. This is absolutely the type of thing that we can help you with, and I can help you with. And I would encourage anyone to get in touch if that's you and you're listening to this. You're thinking, oh, I would just love a little educational chat with somebody before I go in and have this conversation. Please get in touch, because that's right up my street.
And it's really useful. I mean, I have ended up knowing my stuff, having run Sunshine Support for the last 6 years. And so I can do this job. I can do advocacy. I can advocate on behalf of any child. However, When I'm going in with my for my child, I also have an advocate because you end up becoming quite emotional. And I would say that I'm very regulated. I don't get triggered like I used to. I'm a very different parent this time around with this EHCP than I was with the first one. However, you still forget things. You still maybe take things the wrong way and then you misconstrue things. And it's not on purpose. It's just because you're really emotional because of all those things I was saying about the send parent journey, all these big emotions, these big, loud emotions. They do take a hold of you because you're thinking, this is my only chance to get this right for my child. So it's quite scary.
Mm.
Let's have a look. Shell says, I would love to hear. Oh, I don't know the answer, but let's work together. What's your views? Oh, I did get that one. Our old head teacher, oh my God, he was incredible. And I wish I could find where he's gone. He's disappeared off the face of the earth. He was amazing. And he said to me, one of my children has got developmental language disorder. And he said to me, I don't know about DLD, but I would love to learn. Can we do it together? And in fact, her old school did that as well, the infant school. And I must tell you about this. This is how I know it's possible. So my daughter went to a mainstream infant school. The head teacher, an incredible woman, her senior leadership team, the Senko, and the class teacher and TA all came on a Libby Hill workshop in person pre-COVID with me, my husband, and grandparents, so my husband's parents. We all sat around the table together and learned about DLD together and then
Wow.
had some ideas. How incredible. And my daughter, by the way, you've met her.
Mm-hmm.
She does not suffer her DLD. She is an incredible kid who is quirky and owns her differences and really, really is so confident and carefree. It's incredible. But that's come from those early years and getting it right.
Mm-hmm.
I'll mention a few more, and then I'm mindful of the time. We've got to get going. Sammy says, meeting with school in the morning, dropped on me this afternoon. Ooh, that's another thing. Do we need to
Yeah,
do
don't
that?
do that. Don't do that.
They're creating issues due to them wanting to do everything their own way rather than the best way for my child and other children too. We see this quite a lot, don't we? Uh,
Yeah.
it's really hard to listen to you describe these good experiences of being respected and things making progress as it feels like it's listening to someone else winning the lottery while the
Oh.
on. Honestly, Sammy, it was not good for me before this point. I get it. I absolutely get it. Before meeting Kelly as the head teacher, I had been accused of fabricating my child's difficulties, told that it's my fault that she wasn't able to access education. And then they tried to take all my children off me because I kept complaining about their conduct. Honestly, this is 7 years after the fact, and having had, like I say, 4 years of trauma therapy. This kind of recovery doesn't happen overnight. And I sympathize and I empathize and I'm with you. I have your t-shirt, and I tuck it away because I don't want to think about it. So
Mm-hmm.
it honestly, there are so many parents that are in that position, and whilst we're trying to put a positive spin on things, what we're hoping is teachers will hear and watch this and make a difference.
And this is why I do this job. I often say to people, I absolutely love my job, but I'm also frustrated that I have to exist. And I've come to do this job now after having been head of the special school because I have a young family. So Chrissa and I are very broadly the same age within about a year. Chrissa has been a parent for 21 years and I've been a parent for 3. So I have 2 littlies under the age of 3. And so we're sort of the opposite ends of the spectrum. So that's my little family is why I can't be in the sphere of teaching right now, until at least they are older. But I feel so passionately about improving educational experiences for everybody. So not just the children, but the families from where they come from. That this is the next best thing. I really miss working with my children. I love them dearly and really miss it. But this is so the next best thing because I want to be able to make things better for as many families like you, Sammy, who are just like, I've never experienced that. Well, you know, it is possible, and we have to change the hearts and minds of schools that just unaccepting of that fact. Um, and that's why I love my job, but I'm frustrated like this.
It's the whole thing with sunshine. You know, it would be lovely if sunshine didn't need to exist. It just seems absolutely bonkers that we are needed. Um, Now, we could go on and on and on with these comments, but we would be here for hours. Uh, what I would say to people is if you are able to, do sign up to the Sunshine Academy. We have a live Q&A happening the week after next, I
Oh,
think,
yeah.
with Nicole, who is she's an incredible legal bod. So she's one of our advocates, but she is hot on legislation. She has a law degree and she's
It's like a
incredible.
walking encyclopedia. You ask her about, oh, what is there a law for this? And she's like, I know the law for that. And if she doesn't know it off the top of her head, she produces a book from I don't know where that has the answer.
She's
It's just
amazing. And so she's going to be doing a live Q&A. There's not going to be any talking other than answering your questions. And that's live on the Academy week after next. Um, and she also has the lived experience. So she's not going to sit there spouting law and know that, what situation you're in. She really does understand. She has been through the most incredibly complex and traumatizing experiences herself. So she really gets it. She is absolutely phenomenal. And just to sort of give everybody a little bit of support here, we've got our Cuppa and Chat online is in 2 weeks, and we've got in-person Cuppa and Chats as well. Do come along to any of those because they're free to attend, and you will meet other like-minded parents. But also there are Sunshine Support members of staff in the event, so they're able to help you. They're able to feed your questions back to our team and hopefully get answers as well.
And
Maybe
if you've never been before as well, it's really welcoming because no one expects you to say anything. You can just sit there and just digest and get a vibe and a feel for the room at first, and then if you feel like you're able to speak out and share your story, we use little breakout rooms, so there's not like thousands of faces all grappling to be heard on Zoom or anything like that. It's really sort of intimate and a safe place as well, I feel.
Want any links to any of these, just comment and specify which link you want, and we'll go through the comments and answer.
mm.
Now, in terms of webinars, I know everybody always says, can you just remind me of the webinars you've got coming up? We've got mental health and self-esteem webinar next week, because we know that everything we've just spoken about right here is leading to that. You're going to want to understand mental health and self-esteem, not only for your kids, but for you as well, both as teachers and parents. That's happening next Thursday. So with Bridge the Gap, it's a lovely, lovely event. If you want the link, please do comment. And we've got another one coming up. Is this one with you, the EOTAS one? Yeah.
So that's me week after next. Yeah.
That's brilliant. That's all about, I mean, I don't know if there's any tickets left to that one, actually. Education other than school and the law. When school isn't suitable for your child, there are options. You don't have to accept it's school or home. There are so many other things you can consider. And Kelly's going to be talking all about that. And with the Sunshine Academy as well, what I'm absolutely loving at the moment is that they have a private Facebook group, and every talk in the private Facebook group, and we've got the advocates in the group. So there's quite useful because they're able to throw a question in and the advocates answer it quite quickly, or one of the members of the team will answer it. So that's been quite useful. So if you are part of the Academy, be sure to ask the team for a link to the Facebook group, because it's so supportive. And I think that's one of the things that's come out in the comments there as I was flicking through, is how lonely it feels as a send parent. And there was none of this sort of support function when I was going through it. I felt like I was the only person. So do reach out for support. We've got tons of support here at Sunshine. So we're a bit of a one-stop shop, whether you want to do online text support, whether you want to do face-to-face, whether you want to do Zoom stuff, whatever you want, we've pretty much got it. So if there's anything in particular, just send us a message and we'll help you. So we'll wrap it up there, because we're both exhausted after probably a 24-hour day for us, knowing us. But if you need us, anyone, don't suffer in silence. Just get in touch. We will absolutely help you. But Kelly's been lovely. I love having these chats. I could go for hours.
Me too. We really could. Like, that's not even exaggeration. We really could. But no, it's been a pleasure. I'll be able to flick through the comments when I'm not also trying to talk on screen, and hopefully we've resonated with a few people, and we've given you some tools as well. It's always good to have a good chat and to feel validated, but tools are very useful. So hopefully you've picked up on a few this evening that you can go away and use, and it makes a difference because that's what we're here for.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Right. We're going to bed now.
Lovely. I'm going to go and have a bath. My day,
Lovely.
my
Enjoy.
daily thing, my daily self-regulatory thing is to go and have a bath.
Good.
So
We're going to enjoy. Switch off. Put an audiobook on.
fab.
See you later.
See you later.
Bye.
Bye. Bye. Bye.